Welcome to the Ward 3 Caucus. I want to thank everyone for being here. My name's Rob. I'm filling in for our ward chair, Lizzie, since she is running for the city council seat. So first, we'd like to introduce the members of the ward committee. As far as I know, we only elected a chair at the reorg caucus, so we have no other offices. And then, do we have any elected officials here to introduce? Yeah, but not our ward. Okay, so we'll now review the rules for participating in today's ward caucus. To be eligible, you must be a registered voter who resides in Ward 3. You do not currently hold membership in another organized party's committee and have not voted in another party's caucus for the same nomination in the same election. If you hold membership in another organization's party committee or voted in a previous caucus for the March 2018 election for City Council or Inspector of Elections, please do not vote today. When you signed in and got your ballot, you signed to affirm that, so we're going to assume that that's true at this point. So any questions about that before we get started? That'll be for Inspector of Elections if we have multiple nominees. Okay, so pursuant to city party bylaws, we've received 2 nominations from Lizzie Haskell and James Lockridge that are seeking the Democratic Party's nomination for City Council in Ward 3. We will now formally take those nominations. So I'll take a nomination for either of the 2 candidates. David. So David Scher is nominating Lizzie Haskell. If you want to come down, you're going to have a couple minutes here. Are there any other nominations? Yes. Excellent. So if you want to come down. So you'll now have 2 minutes for the nominating speech, and we'll go in the order that they came in.
So my name is David Scher, and it is my honor to nominate Lizzie Haskell for the Democratic nominee for Ward 3 City Councilor. I got to know Lizzie when she worked on my campaign for State Senate back in 2016, and I know that she is going to be an excellent candidate and an excellent city councilor. On that campaign, we worked on a bunch of issues that I know resonate in Ward 3 also. Among those were affordability and the opiate crisis, and I know Lizzie's going to bring great intelligence and attention to those issues, as well as a number of others that she's going to talk about. I'm going to let her talk about the issues, because I know that she can delve into that. She has that down, and she'll be able to talk about that stuff with you really well. What I want to talk about is how great Lizzie is as a person, how hardworking she is, how intelligent she is, how energetic she is, and she's going to bring all of those attributes to this race and to the position. During that campaign, as you do on any campaign, we worked enormously hard, put in long hours, and Lizzie did it with good cheer, with spirit. She cares about people, she cares about her community. I know that she's going to be a caring and intelligent and hardworking representative for Ward 3. She'll be the type of representative who's going to return calls, going to go to meetings, talk to people. She's really going to know Ward 3. She's going to be a great city councilor, and I'm really excited to be nominating her. So it's with great pride that I nominate Lizzie Haskell for Ward 3 city councilor.
Hopefully I'll take less than 2 minutes. My name is Amanda Hannaford. I am actually a steering committee member on the Ward 3 NPA, Neighborhood Planning Assembly. I wasn't planning to do any nomination, but I've known James Lockridge for a number of years, and he is a persistent and respectful advocate for things he believes in. Some of those, but probably I'm going to miss some, include Memorial Auditorium, 242 Main Street. He might have started Big Heavy World. I will let him speak more to his platform. because I haven't read it, but as I should have if I were going to nominate him. But so that is all I have.
Thank you. All right, so we will now move on to candidate speeches. We'll give each candidate 5 minutes, and then we'll have a brief Q&A after that. So if you have questions, please hold them until the very end. Do you have a preference in which order you go in? Whoever comes down first.
You're already down there.
All right,
Come on.
thank you.
All right, so you got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everybody. I want to thank Amanda as well. Amanda and I, we're pretty much in the trenches, and so it's our experience is working on important causes across the city and getting caught up in that. And it's a lot of fun to have a nomination that had the flavor that Amanda offered, because it just gives me a moment to reflect on how busy we are with important things. And I say that in a way that hopefully illuminates how heartfelt my investment in advocacy across the city is. I've been a community builder and a nonprofit administrator for more than 20 years. And I've called Burlington home for close to 30. I've spent my personal and professional life bringing people and organizations together, knowing we accomplish more with less, and we serve more social missions when we work together. I'm running for city council as an independent. That's because I don't want anybody to make an assumption about my willingness to have a conversation with people from different philosophical backgrounds. And I especially welcome the challenging conversations. That's who I am. If I were endorsed today, I would caucus with the Democratic Party. I'm running for city council because I've spent the last few years moving a question forward. I want our city government to do a better job of welcoming our public's voice in its decisions. I'll help move us forward into a modern era of inclusion and equity, where our experience and our creativity and our resourcefulness is valued and becomes part of the path to our city's success. We face a crisis of affordability for our young people, our artists, our vulnerable, our seniors. And City Hall is promoting Burlington as a place where innovation and entrepreneurialism happens. And I'd like to see us apply that energy which we have to solutions that make sure that all of us who want to call Burlington home and grow roots here have that option. And let's also think now about avoiding the displacement and the dispossession of our young people, our vulnerable, our seniors, and our working people as Burlington grows more and more expensive in the future. City Hall also needs to think very hard about our public commons. We need to understand the difference between the transactional value of something that we might sell and the use value of our commons, and what it means to us for its original intention and its history and how we enjoy it as part of our civic experience. And as we consider modern uses for Memorial Auditorium or City Hall Park, we have to remember that it's our duty to serve everybody, all the different people among us, and that includes our homeless and our marginalized youth, as well as our educated, our tourists, our developers. Our commons are treasures to us. They're not liabilities. I'm here to help Burlington become what it can be if it welcomes the wisdom of the people. And I'll bring people together which is the foundation of community. My website is ivotelockridge.com, and you'll find you can drill a little deeper into some of these general ideas there. I'll also hope that you might visit save242maine.com. That's a petition to save our teen center, to reinstate it when Memorial Auditorium is redeveloped. That petition has gathered more than, well, about 1,700 signatures so far, and I hope you'll be a supporter as well. I truly, truly hope for your endorsement today, and I look forward to working closely with you for the next 3 years. Thank you very much.
5 minutes to the second, which is very impressive. So this is, again, the Ward 3 caucus, and we will now have Lizzie Haskell come down for 5 minutes. Following that, there will be a little time for Q&A. Try and keep that open as long as we need to, but we do also have to be back with the full group at 5:30 and also take care of Inspector of Elections. There you go.
Hi, everyone. For those of you I have not yet met, my name is Lizzie Haskell. Thank you all for coming out in this wonderfully warm weather to elect Democratic nominees. I don't think it's much warmer in this auditorium though than it is outside. Thank you to David Chair for nominating me. I am running for City Council because I want to listen to the variety of perspectives that are in the ward and believe it is important to ensure all sides are given thoughtful consideration before moving forward. I am Ward 3 and working with the administration to address the issues of our neighborhood. I moved to Burlington to attend UVM. While at UVM, I served as president of the College of Democrats. I graduated with a degree in political science and was the first person in my family to graduate from college. I chose to stay in Burlington after graduation and plant my roots here because I fell in love with this city and everything that it has to offer. I now work at a local law firm downtown, but before that, like many residents of Ward 3, I struggled to find a job and a place to live. As the Young Democrats representative to the Vermont Democratic Party Executive Board, I have been engaged in bringing young people's voice forward, encouraging them to engage with local and state politics and to take on new responsibilities and roles. This is what I want to do for Burlington. I want to make sure I engage with every voter and involve my constituents in the decision-making process. That said, I also have personal priorities and policies I am deeply committed to. A winter eviction ban has long been a personal priority of mine. I find it unconscionable, as I imagine that many of you do, that Burlington police can be called to evict a family when the weather doesn't even go above 0 degrees. I am committed to growing our stock of affordable housing for low and moderate income households. I want to see affordable housing projects be at the front of the permitting line. I want to see our city expand its commitment to harm reduction policies with regard to addiction. I want to see our needle exchange programs and to ensure people know what resources they have access to and are able to access them. You must be asking why I should be the person you elect to work on the city's toughest issues. Besides being committed to improving the city, I also have a great understanding of some of these issues. Growing up, I had to move around a lot because my family struggled to find an affordable place to live. I grew up with 2 parents who worked incredibly hard 7 days a week in order to make ends meet and to simply pay for rent. I grew up with family members who suffer from addiction. And while some work to remain sober and have been for many years, others have not been able to do so yet. I know that addiction not only affects that one individual, but also their entire family, because I have been through it. I share these experiences with many Burlington residents, and these experiences have shaped who I am today. Despite the fact that I have some shared experiences with residents, I also know that I still have much to learn from the experiences of others. I have committed to monthly meetings with constituents because I want to know how to best represent my ward, our ward, by learning about everyone's experiences. Every resident deserves a city councilor that they know will listen and advocate for them. I hope I will have the honor of earning your vote tonight and become the Democratic nominee for Ward 3 City Councilor.
Thank you, Lizzie. So we'll now, the Ward 3 nominating caucus, and we'll now open up the floor for question and answer for either of the 2 candidates, if you both want to come down. Does anybody have any questions?
Question for Jane. What is the 242 thing that you mentioned? I didn't understand that.
The question was, what is the 242 Main thing? In the mid-1980s, Mayor Bernie Sanders had a youth council that, out of which a teen center in the basement of Memorial Auditorium was formed, and the teen center was programmed by the youth that used it. And for more than 30 years, they programmed live music there for themselves. And I know from personal interaction with many of the people, multiple generations who benefited from that as a program of the city, that it changed and saved lives. And it was closed because Memorial Auditorium was closed when it had its structural issues at the moment. And I've been hoping to have our city's administration comprehend how meaningful, how valuable it is to our youth to have a place where they can consider a safe space, to learn from each other, to practice the decision making and the community, being a part of a community that makes them responsible and engaged citizens eventually. So it's one of those fights where it shouldn't be a fight. I think it's something that as a community we should all feel in our heart. We should intuit the need to have a place that we consider safe for our youth to grow during the formative years of the teen years. And 242 Main was an ideal place for that while it was around. So the petition and a documentary that I'm also helping produce that's interviewed close to 60 people so far are reflective of the path that we're on to bring 242 Main back where it can be of service to the community again.
Okay. Other questions? Yes. So the question was, what would it take to retrofit Memorial Auditorium?
To retrofit Memorial Auditorium, I think it would take a strong showing from the city. I think we have to bring forward what voters want, and if voters want to see Memorial Auditorium retrofitted, I think that is what it would take. I think without a strong showing, it won't be able to happen.
If $15 to $20 million is the current estimate, and if you investigate the recent history of Memorial Auditorium, you'll find that it's shocking to a large portion of our community that we felt the need to step up and ask that it be preserved. When it was founded, its intention was to memorialize veterans at every event held by our community. It's a multifunctional community space. And it was understood to be the city's responsibility to maintain it, and the current leadership of our city understands, and they say this in very plain terms, that they've been bad landlords. So we have a responsibility to a prior generation and to ourselves to maintain a commons that we can use in the wintertime when we have very few resources like that. So I think we're entering a modern day where we'll have modern ideas that we can contribute to its programming and to its redevelopment. I think it's a responsibility to pursue that redevelopment, and my understanding is the mayor will be formulating a plan, a strategy for both the redevelopment and the programming with a consultant that will be on the ballot in November. I hope to play a role in informing that plan and in helping engage the public with it as it comes together. So there's a lot of social values that are innate to the subject of Memorial Auditorium, and you'll find them if you do a Google search or visit my campaign website, where I've spent several years exploring its value, its research, and being a part of the community effort to preserve the building and the programming and the benefit to the community.
Yes.
How would you both have voted in the final Burlington Telecom?
How would you both have voted in the final Burlington Telecom meeting? Is the question.
I would have supported Keep Burlington Telecom Local. And I have more to say about that, which is our community is championing the idea of entrepreneurship, and I feel as though Keep Burlington Telecom Local should have had the benefit of the focus of that energy, and that its eventual proposal should have been up to every specification required of our community or our administration, because our community was behind it as a local entrepreneurial effort on behalf of Burlington as a city. So thank you for letting me expand on that.
So, Keep Burlington Telecom Local is clearly one of the most important issues that just recently happened or voted on. I would have voted for KBTL, almost all the way. Unfortunately, they didn't have the strongest bid. And I think we have to do what's best for the city, so I then would have advocated for Ting. I don't like the way the vote was conducted. It was done at 2 in the morning. I went to bed not knowing what the council was going to pick, and then woke up and there was a decision. I think the vote should have been delayed further, and I think Ting should have been the one that was chosen.
Okay. Yes.
A question for both of you. What would be your position if another developer comes to the city and wants to build 14 stories or more somewhere in the city center?
So the question was, what would your position be if a developer comes to the city and wants to build 14 or stories or higher?
So, downtown development is an issue that I plan to focus on. The mall downtown development plan, which I'm sure you're partially referring to in your question, I was an advocate for it because of the affordable housing that went along with it. But I did not like the 14-story height. I think if someone were to come along again, I would have to see what was the development. Is it housing? Is it businesses? Is it offices? Is it luxury condos? I would have to take that fully into consideration. I think right now affordable housing is such a huge crisis, I wouldn't want to turn a plan down because of that. But I think the 14 stories was a significant issue with the downtown development plan.
I value the public process, and our public process has resulted in a city plan, and our leadership should pay very close attention and be very respectful of the plans that our city comes together and presents. And if there's going to be deviation from that plan, there should be a public process and a public understanding and a public participation in that decision. So, I, to begin with, would default to what have we chosen for ourselves already? What are we holding in our hands for a guideline for that kind of development? And if we're going to change from it, what are the values that underpin that decision? Is it capricious, or will there be a social objective that we accomplish that's important to all of us if we were to break our own rules? I also would like to say that, we're talking about large buildings, but our city has a great deal of opportunity to become, to strengthen itself socially by filling in development, by animating our sidewalks, by having more going on a smaller human scale. And I would be a supporter of development that accomplishes those goals, making us a more interesting city, a more lively city, and using the resources that are available to us on a scale that we're comfortable with.
Okay, so I think we have time for maybe one more question. What's going on with the Moran generating plant? And what do you want to do with it?
I'd like to think we're clever enough to do something with it. And I say that respectful to the question because I think in very practical terms. I've administrated nonprofits for years. These are grassroots organizations, and you have to be resourceful and thrifty to accomplish what we've accomplished. And so when we have a large project like this, it's one thing to think in grand terms about what the end result might look like. It's another to take baby steps to make it safe so it can be entered, to have farmers markets or something useful. I've attended, of all things, art shows in the Moran plant that were stunningly cool. and specific to the installation. So we could, as a community, move forward in an affordable, incremental way that gets us somewhere where we can feel some self-respect for preserving a piece of our history and for having something unique architecturally on our skyline. So I don't have an answer for you beyond explaining the process I would bring to a question like that.
I think in terms of that, I would have to meet with my constituents and see how they wanted to move forward. I think that would be the key thing. What do constituents want to see done with this? I think moving forward, as long as it works for our community, that is the best option that we can pick.
Okay. So we are running close on time. So we're going to move to voting here for City Council. You should all have a pink ballot. I have a stack of pens here if anybody needs a pen. Do people have those? If you want to just hand those around.
Who needs a pen?
And David Oppenheimer, I see you in the back, if you don't mind coming down here to help me.
If you don't mind taking the box around and collecting votes and counting them while I do
So David's going to come around with a box. You can fold your ballot and stick it in there. So you can go ahead and put that in there. And then while he is counting those votes, we'll move to Inspector of Elections to take care of that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'll come over there.
That's what the second one is for. Here, let me just kidding.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah.
There's more than on my fingers.
Yeah, you can do it. Gotcha. For a second. Did everybody get their ballot in? It looks like it, so he's going to count that. Meanwhile, so we have no candidates who have submitted their nomination for Inspector of Elections. We'll accept nominations from the floor. So do we have any nominations for the 3-year Inspector of Elections term for Ward 3? Can't hear me? Is this better? Okay, so we do not have any nominations for the 3-year Inspector of Elections term for Ward 3. So we will take nominations from the floor. Do we have any nominations? Do we have any unfriendly nominations? Somebody sitting next to you that looks like they'd be really good at it. Do we have anybody who's been Inspector of Elections in the past year? Yeah? You want? I mean, effectively, it's largely you are at the polls on election day. You got an inspector, bona fide inspector, coming down here to talk a little about it.
Hello, I'm Charlie Giannoni, and in the current inspector election, I've been.
Louder.
So my name is Charlie Giannoni, and I've been an inspector of election for many years and ward clerk for many years. This is a wonderful opportunity to be part of a great team. We've made a lot of changes in Ward 3. And in fact, if you were to talk to City Hall, the officials at City Hall, like the city attorney or the city clerk, etc., they have more respect for the polling group at Ward 3 than almost any other ward in the city, because, and I can give you actual examples of that if you want them, but the fact is we have a really great team. It's a lot of fun. We split the day up into 3 parts, morning, afternoon, and evening. We make it as easy as possible for people to vote. Now, as far as the inspector position is concerned, the group that we have right now, we have this large group. So when you work for the polls in Ward 3, there's like 15, 18 people that work there. Now some of the wards only have like 9 or 10, and so there's a lot of pressure to work all day long, from 6 in the morning until midnight. But so many people want to work for Ward 3 that we can split it up 3 ways, and people can come and go as they need to, as far as the inspectors and the ward clerk is concerned. So it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people, and I can't encourage you. I would really like Amanda to run, and Julia is up in the back, so she's done it as well. So there's 2 other inspectors in the room here from the past.
I was just going to say that you do get paid, right?
We do get paid. I think the inspectors get paid, I think it's going to be $10.50. If you've done it for years, you actually make $15 an hour, because there's a certain statute. But that's it. So, excuse me? There's we have lots of food, and yeah, so Amanda really knows what she's talking about. That's why she's harassing me here. But if anyone has any interest in being an inspector or the ward clerk in Ward 3, we train everybody in every job, and that's why people like to work there, because everybody counts, everybody runs the check-in list, everybody runs the tabulator to deposit your vote, etc. So everybody learns every job. It's a lot of fun, and I encourage anybody that ever wants to do it to let us know. Thank you.
Okay, so with that great sales job, do we have a nomination? You're nominating Joe right here. Okay. Do we have any other nominations? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to cast 1 ballot to name Joe the inspector.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Congratulations. You want to say a couple words? Or? You're good? Okay. And we also have a winner for City Council. Lizzie Haskell has been nominated as our Democratic nominee for Ward 3 City Council. Congratulations, Lizzie. All right. So that is all of our business, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Ward Caucus.
So moved.
So moved. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. We have accomplished our goals.
Okay, let's get started. I am Stephanie Young, the chair of the Burlington Democrats, and it is my honor, thank you. It is my honor to welcome you all here today. Thank you so much for braving the cold. We know it's a chilly day, and being here with us. I want to give special thanks to all of the volunteers and the ward chairs who helped out today, as well as Brooks MacArthur, who is our parliamentarian today. At this time, I'm going to recognize each of your city council candidates who were nominated by you in your individual ward caucuses. If those city council candidates could come on up on the stage, that would be great. In Ward 3, we have Lizzie Haskell. In Ward 5, Chip Mason. In Ward 6, Karen Paul. In Ward 7, Ali Jang. In Ward 8, Adam Roof. We're just waiting for Adam. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your city council candidates. I would also like to thank everyone who put their name forward for office in our ward caucuses today. Thank you for stepping up. And I would also like to congratulate our candidates for Inspector of Elections. And if you don't mind standing up, if you are a candidate for Inspector of Election. In Ward 1, we have Gloria Yando. Thank you. In Ward 3, we have Joe Spadell in the back. In Ward 4, we have two candidates, Ernshine Abel and Bob Hayton. In Ward 7, we have Zygmunt Tovich. And in Ward 6, we have Rob Bacchus. So thank you to all of the Inspector of Election nominees as well. I have one quick announcement. Nancy Ellis in Ward 4 is looking for her clipboard. So if you have her clipboard and she would like it back, it has the names. Oh, great, Jordan has it. Okay. Finally, in order to ensure that our candidates have the support they need to win in March, the Burlington Democrats are holding a fundraiser, and we hope that you mark your calendars for it. It will be held on January 30th at Hotel Vermont from 5:30 to 7:30. So please come on out and support your candidates, and you can meet and talk with them as well. For our next part of our program, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan McLaren, who is going to run the mayoral caucus. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Can we get a big round of applause for Stephanie, who did an awesome job? A lot of work goes into organizing all of us into a room like this, and Stephanie and Jordan have done an amazing job putting all the pieces together and getting us all here. So thank you, guys. I also want to do a few more thank yous. The VDP has been very helpful today. Connor's here, Sheila's here, Rob. If you haven't met them, please do. But the Vermont Democratic Party, as they do in many places, but particularly in Burlington, where we're a little bigger than most parties, they've been incredibly helpful and do a lot to support us as a party. So thank you, guys. There's also a number of state legislators and elected officials in the room. If you are one of those, I don't have a whole list, so if you want to stand up and be recognized, please do. This whole thing is about public service. They are all fantastic public servants, and come November, we'll be working to support them as well. So thank you so much for the work you do and for coming today. So I'm Ryan McLaren. I am a school commissioner from the Central District, so wards 2 and 3. Old North End, woo! I'm also an MPA steering committee member. I'm the treasurer of the Burlington Democratic Party. But most of all, what I think of myself as day in and day out is a Democrat. Neither of my parents went to college. I am the product of a family. I'm lucky enough to be the product of a family that devoted basically everything to getting me and my family to through high school, which was no easy task, and on to college, so I can aspire to do maybe more than my parents had the opportunity to do. So to me, that's what it means to be a Democrat. It means to be committed to working people, to the middle class, to inclusion, to providing opportunity for every single person that happens to live in our community or be our neighbor. And I want to thank you all for being here and committing to those same values. So give yourselves a round of applause. So with that out of the way, I'll now call the mayoral nominating caucus to order of the mayoral nominating caucus of the Burlington City Democratic Committee to order. The caucus will be conducted in compliance with the bylaws of the Burlington City Democratic Committee. If you are interested at all in those, you can go to burlingtondemocrats.org. I don't suggest it, but if you really want to. Specifically, Article 6, Section D controls this process. As Stephanie said, Brooks is here to deal with any Robert's Rules issues and is our parliamentarian, so thank you, Brooks. And to kick things off, I'd like to invite up my good friend and our House Majority Leader, Jill Kerwinski.
Uh-oh, did I just turn this off? No, can you hear me? It is so great to be here with all of you fellow Democrats tonight. Happy New Year. I don't know about you, but 2018 could not get here fast enough. We are only 7 days into the new year, and the Trump administration has already created renewed anxiety around immigration, foreign policy, and even nuclear war. It's a stark reminder about what's at stake for our country, our state, and why these upcoming elections are so important. As Democrats, we want a Vermont that works for all of us, not just the wealthy. A Vermont where our families and communities can thrive and where the Vermont dream is accessible to everyone, not just a select few. During the governor's State of the State address this week, I did not hear a plan on how we can create an economy that works for all of us. What I heard was a doom and gloom story about failure and struggle. I see a different Vermont, one that has many strengths and many successes and an opportunity to be better. Instead of talking about failure, let's focus on what's working and how to improve it. When the governor says we need to create a marketing program to recruit families to move to Vermont, I say we pass policies that help our families thrive, making paid family leave part of every job and gradually increasing the minimum wage. We will improve the lives of Vermont's working families and the middle class. And when the governor says that in order to save money, we should reduce the school staff to student ratio, I say that creating the biggest layoff in recent state history isn't the answer. We need to focus on what's best for our kids and provide the resources our schools need to meet today's challenges like increasing poverty and mental health. And when the governor says we can't raise taxes while at the same time saying that we are going to continue to invest in programs, I say that we can't fund them on a credit card and mortgage it to future generations. We can't kick the can down the road, especially when it's critical that we clean up our lakes and streams. We will take action in the legislature because our drinking water, our tourist economy, property taxes, and quality of life depend on it. So right now we don't have the votes in the House to override a veto, and that's what it will take to make our vision a reality. So we need to start strong, and we need Democrats up and down the ticket in 2018, and that starts here tonight. We have an incredible group of city council candidates, and we need to work hard to support them in our neighborhoods, at every door, on every phone call, and every tweet. And in a moment, we'll be nominating our candidate for mayor, Moreau Weinberger. Moreau and I share a lot of the same priorities and values. We both want to make sure every Vermonter has a fair shot. He's been working hard and has a track record of getting things done for our great city. He's increased access to affordable housing, brought stability back to our finances, and stepped up efforts against the fight on the opiate epidemic. We share goals like ensuring every family has access to high quality and affordable childcare. So in order to keep on track with these goals, it's critical that we win in March. Friends, we only have 49 days left until town meeting day, and for those of you keeping count, 302 days until the election in November. We need you to take the energy to talk with your neighbor, to take the energy in this room, which I know it's cold, but we're going to warm up. We're warming up here. And you got to take this energy out to your neighbors, your friends, your family, and talk about the Democratic candidates and turn them out to vote. Let's work together to get these candidates elected and send them back to City Hall. Together, we can make sure everyone in Burlington gets a fair shot, and let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. If anyone needs energy, my next speaker will bring it, and bring it in spades, fueled by chocolate and gum. Andrew Champagne, I think, single-handedly has a registered half of Burlington, and certainly called you and asked you to do one thing or another for the Burlington Democratic Party. So, without further ado, my good friend, Andrew Champagne.
Thanks a lot, Rye. Wow, it's hard to go on after that speech by Representative Kowinski. She's so articulate, and it's such a good representative to us in Montpelier. I think we're lucky to have her. How about a cheer for Jill Kowinski, please? I just have two more thank yous. One is to Stephanie Young, who has worked untold hours on this caucus. Her whole family's here. I'd like to say hi to Peter, Alex, Darren, and again, thank you, Stephanie. I also want to thank Jordan Riddell, who's the campaign manager. She and her partner, Ryan, have been here since early today working on this, and she is such a wonderful person, and Moreau is very lucky to have her. I'd like to thank Jordan for her friendship, her kindness, and her great job so far as campaign manager for Mayor Weinberger. You know, when I was a kid, I asked my dad, when I was young, I said, what is it about being a Democrat? And he said, Democrats are for the people. And I've never forgotten that. The first campaign I worked on was Ted Kennedy's presidential campaign when I was 16 years old. And 38 years later, we're still doing it. I know it's been a cold weekend, but there's no place I'd rather live in the world than Burlington, Vermont. And I think you all share my feelings. This campaign is going to be won by us working together in all 8 wards. I am asking you, there's a lot of different ways to help. Put up a sign, go door to door with a candidate, write a letter to the editor, work on social media, bring a friend to the polls, register a friend to vote, come to the polls on election day, maybe write a small check. Those are the things that we have always done, and they've worked for us very well. Lachlan Francis, a UVM student that's going to be working on Moreau's campaign, is in the back with a volunteer clipboard. And when I think of Burlington, I think of 2 things. I think Burlington is community, and I think Burlington is family. I'd like to thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, Andrew. One of the super volunteers that Andrew is speaking of is going to come up and speak next. And I had the opportunity to meet Carolyn a while ago. It seems like she's been working on municipal elections as long as I have, which is impressive considering she's still in high school. And Carolyn has done everything we've needed on a campaign. She's helped candidates. She's made countless phone calls, gone door knocking in the middle of January, February, March, which we know can be cold. And she's done it with a grace and positivity and enthusiasm that I've really seen in a high schooler. So she's a good message for our younger folks, and I'd love to invite Carolyn up.
Thank you, Ryan. That was too kind. Sorry, I don't mess with microphones too often. Well, I'm honored to speak with all of you this afternoon. As Ryan has alluded to, I held my first political sign on town meeting day in 2008. Although, I'll admit, it was for my mom, and it was partly because I was 8 years old and too young to stay home alone. But nevertheless, that day has stayed with me forever. It's fair to say that I've been hooked on politics ever since. Over the years, as Ryan said, I have made thousands of phone calls, knocked on hundreds of doors, like so many others, even in this room today, to get Democrats elected up and down the ticket. Volunteering on numerous campaigns for many elected officials here with us today, I have learned that every voice matters. And especially in 2011 at the caucus, I learned that every vote matters. Today, and on town meeting day, my voice and my vote are going to matter. 10 years after I stood outside on that first town meeting day, I could not be more excited that I will be casting my first ever vote for our mayor, Murrow Weinberger. In our exceptionally polarized society that we live in today, it is more important than ever that everyone, especially my generation, stay engaged. We must all be encouraged and work together to mend the great divides in our country, to work collaboratively in our state, and move our great city forward. For the past 5 years, the mayor has worked to put the city on the right path, the path that embraces what I believe are Burlington's priorities and values. I am excited to cast my vote for the mayor today so we can continue on that path. I hope each of you will join me in working hard to see that our mayor is reelected in March. There are so many people in this room today who, like me, are either voting for their first time or in their first caucus. Please, if you just turned 18 or recently gained citizenship, just registered to vote, or simply this is your first time voting, please join me after this below the stage for a photo. Well, thank you all for coming, and let's go vote.
There's got to be other first-time voters in Burlington out there. Come on. Come on, don't be shy. Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Look forward to continuing our work together this go-around. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for and freezing for. The bylaws require, our bylaws, which I mentioned before, require that any candidate interested in standing for the mayoral nomination of the Burlington City Democratic Committee must submit notice of their intent to seek that nomination 10 calendar days before our caucus. And I've been informed by the chair, that Stephanie Young, that only one notice of intent to seek the mayoral nomination of the committee was received prior to the deadline prescribed by our committee bylaws. That timely notice was submitted by Mayor Murrow Weinberger, who now stands as the only candidate. He now stands as the only candidate qualified to receive the nomination of the committee for mayor from the committee of the Burlington Democrats. At this time, we will entertain a motion to nominate Murrow Weinberger as the candidate of the Democratic Committee for mayor. Stacy Weinberger makes the nomination. It doesn't require a second. I'll allow 5 minutes for a nominating speech.
All right. Does that work? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stacy Weinberger, and I'm honored to be with you here today at the Democratic Caucus. So for those of you who don't know, Murrow and I met in a preschool where I was the teacher. and he brought one of my students, Lily, to school that day. He caught my eye, not only because it was highly unusual to see a young single guy in a preschool, because normally the only men I saw were 3-year-olds and dads, but he caught my eye because he was teaching Lily to climb on top of the monkey bars. You know, not under, but climb on top, which was explicitly against school rules. So we spoke in the hallway that day for the first time, and again a few months later, when Monroe brought Lily to school for the second, and should I say suspicious, time, and we went on our first date that night. So after that meeting, almost 18 years ago, I didn't know that we would end up here together. Early on, it looked like we'd be pursuing rather different pathways. I was headed to New York City to study education, and Monroe was going to Boston to study public policy and urban planning. It turns out, though, that our visions were much more similar than different. As a preschool and kindergarten teacher, I continually would adjust my classroom environment so it would meet each child's needs. The classroom is actually like another teacher. If the environment is conducive to a child's learning style, not only is there greater chance for success, but the learning becomes more meaningful and becomes more relevant. Turns out this is true in urban planning as well. Rose taught me things like relocating the bike path just to the west side of the urban reserve, for example, changes not only the physical bike path itself, but changes all of our connections to the lake overall. So by making these changes to our environment, we can be responsive to the needs and the opportunities that we see in our community. In my current role as early education director at King Street Center here in Burlington, my job is to ensure that our youngest students have the opportunity to succeed regardless of the means of their parents. The families at King Street have access to high quality, affordable care and education, but hundreds of low-income Burlington children do not. Programs such as Monroe's Early Learning Initiative will allow more children access to programs like King Street's, and by expanding capacity, we can reap a better educated, healthier, and more just future for all of Burlington's children. Many of the families that I work with at King Street are the historically marginalized among us. Essential government programs in coordination with our outstanding local nonprofits are the safety net that these families rely upon. One such initiative that Burlington has joined under Monroe's leadership is Obama's My Brother's Keeper, to ensure that all people, particularly young men of color, thrive. So from job fairs to internship programs, basketball tournaments, our city's creating programming to address the opportunity gap. By offering strategic supports for families, especially our newest arrivals and the most vulnerable, we can create the most welcoming city possible. And I think about my own family. Oh, teary, goodness. Leland, a proud middle school student at Edmonds, and Ada, kindergarten class of 2019, or someday she'll get there. I'm thinking about how our children are witness to and participate in these daily conversations about Burlington, about creating meaningful environments, about working to level the playing field, and about welcoming all people, regardless of how long they have lived here. Like all of you here, we engage in civic life to make Burlington the very best city it can be. So all of us here today know that that kind of work requires optimism and a strong sense of urgency, since these challenges can at times be daunting. Monroe has that optimism. He has that optimism, he has the experience and the leadership to make that kind of change happen now. So I ask you here today at Burlington's Democratic Caucus to please join me in nominating for mayor of Burlington, Monroe Weinberger.
Great job, Stacy. Let's do this thing. Because this nomination is not contested, paper ballot's not required, and we'll have a voice vote. So when I call the vote, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Those opposed by saying nay. Does the caucus of the City Democratic Committee of Burlington, Vermont nominate Mayor Monroe Weinberger to be our next mayor? The ayes have it. And Mayor Monroe Weinberger is hereby declared to be the Democratic nominee for Mayor of Burlington in the 2018 Town Meeting Day election. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. It's an honor.
Ryan, thank you. It is great to have you back and serving in this role today. Yeah, let's applaud for that after everything Ryan's been through. You know, I'd like to start by saying a few thank yous. I do want to start by saying thank you to my wonderful wife, Stacy Sherwell-Weinberger. Appreciate, Stacy went through a few different versions of this. There were the versions of the speech that were a roast, not a nomination speech. I'm glad we got moved past those. And I'm really glad she agreed to do this today for a few reasons. First of all, so you all could hear a little bit more about the amazing work that Stacy and her colleagues do at the King Street Center. And also so that everyone in the room and watching and hearing about this caucus understands that this effort to lead the city is really a partnership in so many ways, and it is a partnership certainly in the raising of our girls and keeping the household going, but it's also a partnership in that Stacy has a great intellect and a great commitment to this community and is a major part of a lot of what we do in the administration, and I think you got a chance to see a little bit of that today. So thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you, Ada and Lee Lynn, for being here as well. And my dad has come up from Heartland, Vermont to join us today. Dad, thank you for being here and raising me right. I want to thank Caroline Saba for her great speech a couple of minutes ago. Caroline, thank you. It is amazing how much Caroline has done for this party before she could even vote. And I think it must be a little scary to the other parties out there to think what she's going to do now that she's got the franchise. And she showed it tonight. Thank you, Caroline. Andrew Champagne, we are so fortunate as a party to have the hardest working volunteer in the country here in Burlington. And he's been doing that already on this campaign. It was... You know, we got out there and knocked on doors together earlier, and Andrew is just a great force. So, Andrew, I don't know where you went, but there he is at the back. He's at the back because he's going to corner you all on the way out and make sure you sign up for some phone banking in the weeks ahead. House Majority Leader Jill Krawinski, it's an honor to have you here tonight and your legislative colleagues. We are creatures of the state here in municipal government, and we are very conscious of and appreciative of the need for great leadership and great work in Montpelier. And you are a big part of getting that done for the people of Vermont and the people of Burlington right now. And thank you for being here tonight and being part of this event. I know TJ Donovan was here earlier. I'm not sure if he was able to stick around, but thank you to TJ and all of our statewide representatives, the statewide Democrats who are doing such a great job for the party. Appreciate we got to recognize the counselors slate that's going forward tonight a few minutes ago. I'd like to say thank you to that group for the work that we're going to do together in the next couple of months. I want to thank, in addition to those 5, we have district counselors here tonight that aren't up for re-election this time, but are going to be a big part of continuing to govern going forward and have been a big part of the last 6 years. Chip Mason is here and was recognized already, but in the South District we have Joan Shannon representing the South District. Here's Joan. And we have Dave Hartnett from the North District. If the two of you could stand and just be recognized and thanked for your partnership. Yes, great point. I know you guys are great friends, so I didn't even, think to point it out. But it is great to have you guys sitting close together again and working together. Couple final thank yous. Stephanie Young, I just want to echo the point made by Ryan at the top. This takes a huge amount of work to make this event happen. She had to plan for potentially an event even 6 times this size if this had been a contested mayoral caucus. She did a great job with it in her first months as the Democratic chair, and I'm deeply appreciative, Stephanie, and looking forward to having a great election season in the next couple months. So finally, Brooks MacArthur, thank you for serving as parliamentarian. I'm glad it's not too difficult of a job today, but it could have been. Thank you for stepping up to it. Thank you again, Ryan. And final thank you to Jordan Riddell, who came from the mayor's office and joined the campaign about a little more than a month ago. Jordan's at the back of the room. If you haven't met her yet, I'd like you to turn around and look at her just so you know who she is, and because she's going to be everywhere running this effort the next couple months. So, you know, not everyone does it this way, but I'm a little old-fashioned in thinking that when you stand for an important office like for the mayor of Burlington, you got a responsibility to kind of lay out in some detail what you're running on and what you intend to do. And so if you'll bear with me for a couple minutes, I am going to take a few minutes to do that. Thought it'd be a warmer room when you'd be sitting in for this, and I appreciate that you came out not just to brave the cold outside, but are enduring the cold inside to do this. We do, I think, have to appreciate at least knowing that the Burlington School District is saving our dollars on the weekends with the responsible heating policies. So 6 years ago, I came to this Democratic caucus as a first-time candidate for elective office. I did not have name recognition, deep government experience, or much of a history giving speeches at the time. What I did have was two things. Clarity that our great city had lost its way with its finances and was no longer able to get big things done, and a commitment to set things right. I will always be grateful that this caucus took a chance and voted for a fresh start and the opportunity to forge a new direction together. At the beginning, we faced large challenges, and the work has not been easy throughout the last 6 years. The city was downgraded to the edge of junk bond status 2 months after I started, as we teetered on the edge of a true fiscal crisis. Our wonderful airport had the lowest credit rating of any airport in the continental United States. Our water, sewer, and traffic funds were in the red, and our core infrastructure was in serious decline. One of the largest banks in the world came after us for tens of millions of dollars and attempted to tear the Burlington Telecom fiber optic cable out of the ground. We had to grapple with big, tough questions about the future of our waterfront and our downtown. However, with challenge after challenge over the last 6 years, the administration, the city council, and the people of Burlington have stuck together, and we have made great progress. Together, we have earned 3 credit rating upgrades over the last 3 years that will save city and school taxpayers and ratepayers more than $12 million. Together, we have successfully fought off more than $15 million of Citibank claims, kept the BT fiber in the ground, and saved high-speed internet choice for Burlingtonians. Together, we righted the ship for all our city enterprise funds, passed the sustainable infrastructure bond last November with 76% of the vote, and now our core infrastructure is on the mend. Together, we have righted the ship, Together, we have transformed the northern waterfront from an eyesore into one of the best places in the city to walk, exercise, or simply marvel at the beauty of Lake Champlain. And after a 3-year community debate and continuous improvement of our plans to redevelop the downtown core, the construction of a new, vibrant, mixed-use neighborhood is now underway. In doing this critical work, we have built a foundation for even greater success in the next few years. In a third term, this administration will remain focused on protecting Burlington as an equitable and inclusive city, continue to invest in our public spaces, core infrastructure, and public facilities, and lead on the environment. How will we get all that done? By staying true to the same core principles that have gotten us this far together: fiscal responsibility, public engagement and responsiveness, and a resistance to President Trump when he attempts to undermine Burlington values. So now I'd like to say a little bit more about each of those points, both what we're going to do and then how we're going to do it. So again, first, we will remain focused on protecting Burlington as an equitable and inclusive city. Burlington must remain what it has been for over 150 years, the place in Vermont where people of all backgrounds can launch their career, start a family, and grow a business. This vision of Burlington was at risk 6 years ago when the average Burlingtonian was spending 44% of his or her income on rent. Large numbers of young households were being pushed out of the downtown by wealthier, older households. We were in danger of becoming a boutique city accessible only to the rich. One of the ways we are turning this around is by doubling down on our commitment to permanently affordable housing. I have a deep belief in the transformational power of safe, quality housing for our most vulnerable. Just after I finished college, I moved to the rural town of Americus, Georgia. There, I worked as part of a small Habitat for Humanity crew that coordinated hundreds of community volunteers to build a new home for an elderly couple that had played by the rules but had fallen on tough times when the husband of the couple had gotten hurt working in the peanut processing plant a few blocks from his home. On the day we dedicated a brand new home to this sweet couple, their adult children had come home from around the country to carry in the new furniture that they were giving their parents. Volunteers, the community volunteers, clapped and they cried, and the family fed the entire community to celebrate, and I was hooked on a career in affordable housing. For the next 15 years, I built affordable homes in New York, New Hampshire, and Vermont. I never, again, saw a move-in day quite like that first one, but I'll tell you, I never got tired of seeing families and seniors in need move into high-quality homes. I brought this experience and this commitment to helping our most vulnerable to the mayor's office and have converted it into action on many fronts. We doubled the annual investment in the local housing trust fund and used the city's federal housing resources to help protect permanently affordable housing at the Bobbin Mill in South Meadow and to help our nonprofit partners build the new Bright Street Co-op and the new Caucus housing on North Avenue. We helped residents of the Farrington Mobile Home Park take control of their future and create a resident-owned co-op on North Avenue. This work is far from done. Earlier tonight, we welcomed first-time voters here at the stage. And, you know, if we want to continue to be a place that welcomes new Americans from around the world and a place where our kids can start their careers and raise their families, we must get our housing and land use policies right and continue to build as much housing for households of all backgrounds as we can. But protecting Burlington's equitable and inclusive character also means doing more as a city to support our most vulnerable. In the years ahead, we will pilot the expansion of the seasonal low-barrier warming shelter we created with partners 4 years ago into a year-round facility. We will grow the new Burlington Early Learning Initiative that will make its first ever grants in the next few weeks so that Burlington kids, including those born into poverty, have the opportunity to thrive. And we must turn the tide on the opioid crisis. I'll be talking much more about each of these in the weeks ahead. Second major area of initiative. So in addition to City of Inclusion and Equitability, we will continue to invest in our public spaces, core infrastructure, and public facilities. Stewarding our core infrastructure and other physical public assets is one of the most important responsibilities of local government. Public infrastructure supports the economic vitality and the quality of life of this community, and the public spaces where we gather for recreation and to advocate for important causes define us as a city. Improving our infrastructure and public assets has been a top priority since the very beginning of this administration. We repaired and reopened the flood-damaged bike path so that the Vermont City Marathon could be returned to its traditional course in the first 60 days in office, and we completed dozens of Penny for Parks projects in our first construction season. Since then, we have completely rebuilt more than 5 miles of the bike path, created a new park at the north end of the urban reserve, built a world-class skate park, purchased 12 acres of the former Burlington College land for a new park and public beach, made long overdue investments in the library, firehouses, and Leddy Arena, tripled our historic level of annual sidewalk construction, and we are proactively replacing our water lines for the first time. You know, that's a long list, and I'm proud it's a long list, and I'll tell you what, if we get a chance to keep working on this, that list is just the beginning. The voters of Burlington have mandated, with multiple votes, additional historic investments in a new lakefront park west of the water plant. More than $30 million of additional investment in our streets, sidewalks, and water lines and other core infrastructure. And the rebuilding and improvement of 12 blocks of our downtown, including the reconstruction of the segments of Pine Street and St. Paul Street that were lost during urban renewal. And in the months ahead, we will create a plan for voters to consider to restore and reopen Memorial Auditorium as a successful 21st century public assembly space. So, you know, I go on about this a little bit because one of my opponents is trying to reuse the old campaign slogan that Burlington is not for sale, suggesting that Burlington Democrats are recklessly selling off the city's assets. Nothing could be farther from the truth. We aren't selling Burlington. We are responsibly, ambitiously, and because Burlington Democrats know how to manage the city's money right, affordably investing in our public spaces, public infrastructure, and public facilities like never before. The work of city government for the next 3 years will, in large part, be about successfully implementing the plans the voters have recently approved by getting tens of millions of dollars of contracts, design details, and construction oversight right. This work takes sustained discipline, focused commitment, and experience. The city has the right team in place to get this tough work done. And if given the chance to keep leading our city, I promise that we will deliver on these plans just as we have made good on so many past commitments. Third major area, and final, we will lead on the environment, particularly with respect to climate change. Burlington has long been a leader on the environment, and this work reached an important milestone in 2014 when we became the first U.S. city to source 100% of its electricity from renewable generation. I look forward to detailing in this campaign how we will build on this work and make great strides in the next term towards becoming a net zero energy city across not just the electricity sector, but also the thermal and ground transportation sectors over the next 10 to 15 years, and the other environmental goals that we'll be working towards over the next 3 years. So that's what we're gonna do. How are we gonna do it? Here's how. We will continue to put financial responsibility first, because without that base, nothing else is possible. During the years when our finances were a mess, our community dreams were also stalled, and we were in no position to advance our values or beliefs. Together, we cleaned up our finances, reformed our internal controls, and methodically rebuilt our financial reputation, and now we are getting big things done again. One of my opponents has applauded our financial successes and expressed her intent to move on to other matters, more in line with Burlington's goals. That is not the way it works. Fiscal responsibility is not a checkbox on a to-do list to be marked and then forgotten. Fiscal responsibility is a work ethic that is either strengthened through ongoing vigilance or quickly lost. Let's not risk going back to the days when city government was careless with our resources and squandered them instead of advancing our highest community priorities. Second thing we're going to do, we will continue to be proactively engaged with, accessible, and responsive to the public. This has been the focus since day one. This is the administration of See-Click-Fix and the BTV Stat Dashboard and the Public Investment Action Plan for the Northern Waterfront. This is an administration of weekly public coffees that has taken 17 different ballot initiatives to the voters in the last 6 years and worked with the city council and stakeholders to pass every single one. In short, this is an administration that knows it is impossible to get anything done without strong public trust, and that will never stop working hard to earn and make good on that trust. And the last way we're going to do it is we are going to resist President Trump whenever he pursues efforts that are in conflict with Burlington values. So, to the surprise of no one in this room, the first year of the Trump presidency has been absolutely harrowing. Almost every day, we learn of new ways in which this federal administration is attempting to undo policies and norms that have strengthened and bound us together as a nation. The most encouraging moments of the last year have been the times when states' attorneys, governors, and the courts have stood up to the president, and the checks and the balances of the system have held despite great strain. Often, this work of checking a reckless federal administration falls to mayors. In the first year of the Trump presidency, defending Burlington values, including taking legal action to oppose Trump's draconian immigration policies, co-founding the new Vermont Climate Change Coalition so that our state can continue to contribute to the Paris Climate Agreement, and joining an amicus brief in support of the gay couple that was refused service at the Masterpiece Cake Shop, and much more. We cannot know which Burlington values our impulsive, lying president will attack next, but there is no doubt that more assaults are coming. If given the chance, I will continue to stand up to Donald Trump whenever he comes for us, as I have since his first out-of-control campaign visit to Burlington in 2016. So that's it. Over the next 8 weeks, I'll be making the case I just made to you to the people of Burlington. If you support this vision of an equitable and inclusive city full of opportunity for all, with great public infrastructure and public spaces that leads on the environment, I ask for your help talking to all the people who are not freezing in the room with us today. You can help by signing up for phone banking and canvassing at the back of the room. You can help with your social media posts and through conversations with your neighbors. Together, this caucus has brought Burlington so far during the last 6 years. Now is not the time to turn back. Let us leave here tonight and work hand in hand to elect city councilors and a mayor who will keep Burlington moving forward. Thank you.
Give it up one last time for Moreau. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for signing up with Andrew and Lachlan to go phone banking and canvassing with the Burlington Democrats. There is a community dinner outside, so stick around, ask your counselor. It's in the cafeteria. Stick around, ask your counselors questions, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Jordan, second. Yeah, all in favor, say aye. Go warm up.